In this box, we have the biggest electric scooter that we have ever had the opportunity to test. Thanks to the folks over at Voro Motors. This is a $7,000 electric scooter. And if you've ever wondered what it's like to unbox a $7,000 electric scooter, you are in the right place. It was so big, it came in a semi-truck.
That's a big box. Big old scooter.
Scooter for what though?
Fun.
They dropped it off. Pallet, everything.
We've got the Dualtron X Limited here. It's got speeds up to 65 miles per hour, and it's got a massive 84 volt, 60 amp hour battery.
And let's go ahead and get unboxing.
And one thing is, I see there's some damage to the box. Luckily, you can see there's a cage around it. That's really good because this probably would have gotten jacked up had this cage not been wrapped around this.
This is pretty incredible. I've never seen anything like this. We've unboxed a lot of scooters. This is next level stuff here. Like Andrew said, you've got this metal sturdy frame cage around it, and then surrounding that is this heavy duty plastic wrap. This is pretty incredible. So far, the packaging has been top-notch, great unboxing experience, and the condition that the scooters come in has been flawless. I haven't seen any damage yet.
So this is the charger for the scooter. Comes with an extra fuse. So it says max 6 amps, but it's actually a 4 amp charger. Being a 60 amp hour battery, it's gonna take you 15 hours to charge this from empty to full. And you can get a second charger and cut that charging time in half. So this has a steering damper in here, some charge cords. So this is the charger for the stem lights.
The incredible thing about this scooter is it's so big, it has its own battery for the lights. So you've got the battery in this massive deck to run the motors to get you to go. And then you've got a second big battery hidden here within the steering pole or the stem.
This is nice because it allows you to tighten the suspension to make it nice and stiff for the coils. And it's adjustable hydraulic coil suspension. Axle nut covers, bolts for the steering damper, and I think these are bolts for the light.
This thing is huge. It's enormous. It's gigantic, it's titanic, it's all the big adjectives you can think of. The biggest scooter we have ever unboxed, and they did a really good job with the shipping. No damage that we could find. This is not just big, but also beautiful. We're gonna do a walkthrough. Andrew, show us around from top to bottom.
Let's start with the cockpit. You have the beautiful i4 display, which is color and Bluetooth connectivity. You can connect to an app and control all sorts of different things with it.
This is the first time we've seen the i4 display. All the other scooters beforehand have been the i3 display, and if you remember, it was off on the side, it was round, bulky, very generic, plain looking. And so this is a big improvement.
You've got the lovely CNC metal buttons on the left side. These control a lot of the lights. You have the turn signals, the front lights, the side lights, emergency lights, and the horn. Woo, and it's a loud one. You have nut hydraulic brake levers. These are sweet because these are connected to 4-piston nut hydraulic brakes, and we'll go over those as we go down the scooter. The nice thing about this front side is you have this handlebar extender, so you can add extra lights on, which I really wouldn't, but a phone holder would be nice. So lots of different attachments that you can add to the scooter, but it's almost complete that you don't really need to add much, maybe a phone holder.
And a rubber ducky, he would go nice there.
Don't forget our friend, the rubber ducky. This trigger throttle is very nice because it's a nice slender profile, so you can bring it a lot closer to the brake lever, and you don't have to accidentally hit the trigger throttle when you're trying to grab the brake lever. You have a battery display to show you exactly how much power is left inside the stem that controls all the auxiliary lights. On top of that, you have these 2 USB ports, so you can charge 1 amp and 2.1 amps out, and you can charge your phone on the go, or not really anything else. You don't really need to charge any other lights because there's plenty of lights on this scooter. You have buttons on the left side. These buttons on the left side control the front lights.
Let me understand this right. So you've got all these buttons here for lights, lights. Then you've got lights and more lights.
Yep, more lights, exactly.
Okay.
There's technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 light buttons. It's a doozy.
Just looking at those lights, I was filming and turned that top one, oh, that goes right into your eyeballs. It like shined right into my retina.
And you can adjust the angle of all these lights. I've tightened down the bolts, but you can adjust them to be lower. These are pretty low, so I've kept this kind of mid-level, just so I can see more spread during night. Moving down the steering pole, where, as you know, there's a battery inside of here. You have a steering damper which helps prevent you from overcorrecting. You can tighten that down or loosen it up depending on what type of riding you're going to be doing. Before we move down and talk about the C-type suspension, let's talk about the steering column that locks it into place. There's this knob right here, and you can unlock it, but you can't actually get the scooter folded unless you use a 6mm Allen key to unbolt these two bolts.
This is not a portable scooter. You need to actually carry around hardware in order to undo the locking mechanism and fold it, but I see why. A scooter this big, just by sheer weight, it's not very portable. Dualtron is favoring safety over convenience.
We've got the C-type suspension. These are really cool hydraulic coil suspension. You can adjust the coil to be tighter or loose. You can also adjust the rebound to be faster or slower. 13 by 5-inch street tires. These things are massive. They're bigger than my head, as you can see. Look.
That's a big tire.
That's a big one. And then on this side, you have a 180mm brake disc with 4-piston nut hydraulic brakes. This is the first scooter that we've seen with 4-piston nut hydraulic brakes. I love nut brakes, and I'm sure I'm gonna love 4-piston hydraulic nut brakes. Moving down this deck, this thing is gigantic. 14 inches wide. Really usable deck length is, let's say, about 23 inches. 26 inches is how long it really is. And then you have these little kick plates on the rear, which add an extra 5 inches. You could put your foot in the center, but it's mainly here to block the suspension from getting stepped on. And you can add a seat, so there's an optional seat to add on to it. Let's measure the clearance on the scooter. From the ground to the bottom of the deck, it's, what is that?
8.5?
Yeah, 8.5 inches. Let's measure the deck height to the top of the handlebars. And we're about 40 inches. And then one other thing is, how wide are these handlebars? They're 25.5 inches wide, and they're collapsible. That's the one thing I forgot to mention.
Oh. They're tight, but they're also very rigid. Like there's no rattling or play.
Yeah, there's no rattling or play. And it comes in, so that's nice. But I don't even know why you would really need to fold unless you have a very narrow walkway that you're coming in through. Portability is not the strong suit of this scooter. Underneath this deck is that 84 volt, 60 amp hour battery. So that's 5,040 watt hours. Massive battery, the biggest battery we've ever seen on an electric scooter. And then you have some nice heat sinks running down the side to help mitigate the heat. So let's look at the bottom of this. There's one interesting feature about the scooter is there's some scoops in here to catch air.
There's that vent or scoop that Andrew's talking about to help catch air, to help with the cooling.
Yep.
And it looks like the air will funnel in there and then come out the back.
In the rear, we have another adjustable coil hydraulic suspension. You can adjust that coil to be nice and tight if you want it stiff when you're running hard and fast, or you can have it looser if you want a nice, more plush, bouncy ride. You can also adjust the rebound to be fast or slow. On top of these nice kick plates, you have these rear lights that are turn signals and also the emergency lights. Another 13 by 5-inch tire with a 180mm brake disc. Really the only thing that I can really knock on it right now from first impressions is I feel like the kickstand should just be a little bit beefier. I think it's ultimately just a crazy beast that should be ridden long distances, and I'm excited to try it out.
Not only is this scooter big, not only does it have a bajillion buttons for all the different lights, it also has a lot of different charge ports.
Dualtrons are known for putting 2 charge ports on one side.
These are the 2 charge ports, right?
Yeah, and they're different chargers. They look like the GX16M pins. And then on the other side, you have this auxiliary hole for adding an extra battery. And then you have one extra charge port on the steering pole, and this is for you to charge the battery inside of here.
For all the lights, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a lot of fun to put together. Let's get our gear on. All right, we're out here riding the Dualtron X Limited. Andrew, what are your impressions so far?
It's sweet. It's a major upgrade from the previous version. The suspension was a little too soft on the previous version. This is nice and stiff for speed riding, and it's got a ton of power. This thing is awesome.
Let's see some of that power. All right, Andrew, initial impressions, first ride.
It's a fun scooter. Major improvements from the previous version. I felt the last version was a little too bouncy, even in slow rebound, and it just didn't have as much acceleration as I would like in a scooter. Yeah, this is it. The slow rebound, so it's really stiff and great for speed runs.
Andrew, you were ripping hard. How fast were you going?
I was already going over 60 miles per hour on the display. I think it was like 63, 64, 65. I didn't really look down, but it's fast. Zero issues with speed wobbles. On the previous version, what would happen is as soon as I stopped accelerating, I felt like I would lurch forward because the suspension was too soft. Now I have zero lurching forward when I lay off of the throttle going fast. This scooter rips super fast, great suspension. I can dial it in for speed runs or if I want to go off-roading for a more bouncy and plush riding. Bigger wheelbase. This scooter's sweet and I'm excited to do a full review on it.
We're gonna put some more miles on this so we can give you our complete thoughts in the full review video. So make sure you guys stay tuned to check that out. Thanks for watching, and when you guys ride, wear your safety gear.